So Lonzo Ball, who has been one of the most polarizing prospects of the 2017 draft, has really started to flourish in this Pelicans team. Whether it was the bright lights of LA that was bothering him or a lot of personal issues going on, it seems that he's a lot happier and comfortable in New Orleans. Lonzo's always been one of my favorite players in the NBA, and I think he's really starting to live up to that Jason Kidd comparison. And to be honest, when it's all said and done, I think he'll be better than Jason Kidd, but only time will tell. So at the start of the season, Lonzo Ball was mediocre, and a lot of that had to do with him getting used to his revamped jumper that was on the right side of his body, him getting his legs back from that ankle injury that put him out for 6 or 7 months. But to be honest, those were minor problems. The main problem was him not being very aggressive, and it seemed that nothing really changed. He was taking way too many three-point shots and not driving to the basket at all, which was a huge problem for me because he's a tall player at his position. He's 6'6". I mean, most people guarding him are 6'4" or under, so he has to take advantage of that, but he wasn't. I was getting those Laker vibes from his rookie year and even his second year as well. He was being involved in trade rumors to the Knicks and Bulls by December, but ever since that game against Houston where he scored 27 or 29 points while making 7 of 10 three-point shots, I believe something just clicked, and it really shows throughout his game now and within the stats. So this is it. Here's the Lonzo Ball breakdown for this season so far for Lonzo. When fully healthy, this man hounds you on defense. Lonzo often anticipates passing lanes and has very, and I mean very quick hands, as he's usually very accurate on his on-ball swipes. But there are times where he overplays, thus leaving his man open to cut to the basket or leaving them free for an open three-point shot. Lonzo ranks top 20 in steals at 1.4 a game and top 10 in blocks per game at the guard position at 0.5 blocks a game. Lonzo is very good at remaining vertical and not giving elite foul drawers any chance to draw fouls on him. I believe that Lonzo combined with Jrue Holiday are the best defensive backcourt in the NBA, and you could say Paul George and Patrick Beverley, but I think Patrick Beverley's jerky movements and trash talk intensity while playing overshadow his pure defensive abilities, which often get exposed against top tier offensive players, which I mean it should, because good offense always beats good defense. Look here guys, I'm not gonna trash on Patrick Beverley as he is definitely worthy of all of his all defensive team accolades, but I just think he's slightly overrated on defense by fans and media just because he always makes headlines for it. Patrick Beverley at times almost fouls out of games due to the fact that he's not very disciplined on the defensive end. Sometimes he reaches in and gets very cheap fouls for reaching in, sometimes gets ejected, things like that. But I'm not even going to get into that area because we're just strictly talking on defense for Pat Bev. All right, so moving on back to Lonzo. Lonzo's also long enough to often recover on plays if beat and contest shots well by getting his hand in the shooter's face or straight up projecting the shot. He also has put on weight, which has definitely helped him on the defensive end because he boxes out a lot more efficiently and grabs way more boards, and if he can't grab them, that's when he utilizes his long wingspan and impressive athletic ability in his vertical and taps it away to his big man to receive the board away from the offensive rebounder. Lonzo's strength has really helped him hang with bigger players in the post, particularly obviously your front court players like your power forwards and centers. Lonzo often strips centers in the post as well because, like I said, he has very, and I mean very quick hands. I'm surprised at how well Lonzo's adapted on the defensive end. He slides his feet well, he contests shots at a high degree, he fights over screens, anticipates passing lanes extremely well. He strips players a lot, particularly big men, like I said, from their blind sides, from the post, etc. And he's excellent at rebounding at the guard position. He is everything a point guard wants to be on the perimeter, definitely, when you're looking at the defensive end. If I had to compare Lonzo to a defender, it would be Klay Thompson, but I think Lonzo actually grabs boards slightly better and has quicker hands. I feel like both of these guys are extremely underrated on this side of the ball due to their other abilities. For example, Klay's shooting and Lonzo's playmaking abilities. But for Klay, for Clay, I feel like he should have at least 2 all-defensive team selections. And if Lonzo didn't go down last season with that ankle injury, he definitely would have been on an all NBA defensive team as well. Okay, so let's move on to Lonzo's shooting. I have to admit, I'm very surprised by Lonzo's shooting this year in all aspects. He seems more willing to take and make big-time shots he just didn't do in the past 2 seasons. Lonzo came off a summer where he not only tinkered a bit with his jump shot, but completely changed it with help of his shooting coach, Fred Vinson, and now he is shooting a career high in 3-point percentage at 38% compared to his 33% last year. He still shoots 57% at the free throw line, which is, trash, but better than his woeful 42% from last year, which was worse than Shaq's. And he takes a lot more mid-ranges, particularly from the pick and roll situations. Lonzo has now had a couple of games this season where he shot 7 threes in a game, and those were against the T-Wolves, Dallas, and the Rockets. His mechanics are a lot more fluid and silky smooth now. He's releasing the ball from the right side of his face. He's holding the follow through nicely. You can just see all the amount of work he's put in paying off massively. Since the All-Star break, before the NBA entered into his hiatus, Lonzo is actually shooting a scorching 47% from 3 and making people completely pay for leaving him wide open. Lonzo does take a lot of catch and shoot threes, but you can see his evolution as a 3-point shooter as the Pelicans are starting to even run pin downs for him to come off screens to get a 3, which is something we definitely never saw him do on the Lakers. In terms of the cons, Lonzo does take a lot of 3-point shots out of catch and shoot situations. So if he can become a bit more deadly off the dribble or even in isolation, that would help expand his game even more. And lastly, the free throw shooting. 56% is an improvement, but Lonzo should try to get that percentage to about a 75 or an 80, especially for a point guard. Free throws have always been a mental thing, and there always will be a mental thing. So if DeAndre Jordan can actually step up and improve his free throw, best believe Lonzo can do the same as well. Right, finally, let's talk about Lonzo's playmaking. So here are the pros, the Lonzo and Zion pairing. I honestly hope this young duo stays together for the rest of their career because it reminds me more of a Peyton Kemp or a Stockton Malone type of match. Because Zion is a guy who isn't ball dominant and literally just needs one dribble or two to blow by his man, get into his body, and just go up with that freakish athletic ability of his. Zion has really unlocked, or let's just say elevated, Lonzo's playmaking to another level because now we're seeing full court lobs, alley-oops being thrown, and given they're both high IQ players, it's just so easy for them to manipulate defenses, and that's a rare given how young both of these players are. Lonzo's most dangerous in transition, as like I told you, this man is cat quick with the ball in his hands. He just glides across the court and 99% of the time makes the right read by either taking it all the way to the cup himself, kicking the ball up for an open 3 by sucking in the help defender, or just throwing a perfect lob. As a coach, whenever the fast break starts, I would always want Lonzo with his ball in his hands to initiate it. I haven't even gone to his outlet passes, where he just loves to make these touchdown passes to leakers who run the lane hard. For example, Josh Hart, Larry Nance when he was on the Lakers. While on the Pelicans, Lonzo always has his eyes aware of who's down court immediately after he grabs a rebound. There are many times where Zion just pins his defender down low and Lonzo just throws a pinpoint outlet pass and Zion just straight up takes a dribble and finishes right through the defender. Lonzo is literally the definition of floor general, as he is so unselfish to even default at times at getting guys to their preferred spots on the floor. Lastly, Lonzo's improved shooting has really led to him being more effective in pick and pop, dribble penetration situations because now the D's fighting over screens, and when that happens, Lonzo manipulates the defense by using his eyes and throwing over the shoulder passes to the popper, who is usually Nicolo Melli or some other big, and they usually drain the wide open look. So let's talk about cons of Lonzo's playmaking. Sometimes he turns the ball over a lot by making passes that are just too unrealistic. Sometimes he sees the play well before his teammates do and they're not ready for it, and that leads to a turnover or two. But mostly turnovers are things that can be solved just through better work ethic, better ball IQ. It's not something I worry about too much because knowing Lonzo, he'll just watch the film and he would notice where he's wrong and then he'll correct it and be more efficient with the ball in his hands. So his dribble can also be very sloppy at times. So one thing he has to do is also improve his handle more, especially for a guard at his size. He sometimes can try to overdo by dribbling through two players and then he just getting stripped of the ball. And sometimes he telegraphs the pass too easily in pick and roll situations. And this is due to the fact that Lonzo can't really take the ball to the rack at a rate where defenders will have to respect him. If Lonzo had a better floater game, that'll put his defenders, big men, in a situation where they will have to commit to Lonzo, and from there, passes will be way easier, such as lob passes, dump-off passes, because it will be more of a 2-on-1 situation. Lastly, Lonzo is an elite passer, and there is an argument he is a top 5 playmaker in the league, but by having a better inside game, it could really make his playmaking abilities even better, which would be scary. So in the end, Lonzo is a young, dynamic playmaking guard who has all the little intangibles that are so valuable to every team. He is an elite playmaker and an above average defender and has improved his shooting by a lot. If Lonzo is given the keys to the offense truly by Gentry, which leads to a higher usage rate, I can see him becoming an all-star next year, blossoming really well alongside Zion and Ingram. And if everything goes right, I can see the Pelicans winning a title in 3 or 4 years. And who knows, if they potentially get a free agent without having to give up the main core of Zion, Ingram, or Lonzo, I think they can become immediate contenders. So this is my breakdown on Lonzo. I hope you guys liked it. This is my first video on this channel. And I just want to say stay safe to everyone, especially during these COVID times, and have a great day. So, bye.